All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, February 12th, 2024. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets today, really quiet start to the day. We had literally a 4-point range for about the first hour of the day. And then we kind of just had this little float higher, little kind of mini 0 DTE squeeze, a lot of put selling going on. And I think they just got a little, to say the least, a little offsides. And we had some selling come in. Take a look at kind of, like an NVIDIA here. And, this is just kind of what happens when you add in $500 million in market cap in 6 weeks. I mean, literally, it's we were at 500 a share at the beginning of the year, and we're at 750, or we got close to 750 today. So when you have a company that's that concentrated now in the top 5-10 in the S&P, it only really takes a little bit of selling in that name to kind of bring the whole machine down. But we did see it kind of come in and stabilize. I talked about this in the chat today. Right around 50.25, there should be some intraday support, and that's holding through that. There's still a lot more at 5K. One pattern, though, I'm watching is this rising wedge. I know it's a little tight here, but if you see on the hourly, we did slice through that a little bit. We have CPI tomorrow. That'll be a market mover. I have no idea what's going to happen. So right now, conventional wisdom would say, okay, well, you broke a rising wedge into a volatility event. Could be a little bearish. You could also say that, taking a look at the VIXI, this has been just chugging higher all day long. We've also had the market basically like euphoric and just pushing up into that. Whereas yields held up pretty well today. There's the TNX. We pulled back a little bit, but came off the lows. Down just 15 cents on the TNX. And pattern-wise, this is tight, and it looks good. And if we break above 4.2, I think that's kind of the line in the sand there for some fireworks to potentially go off. Again, that's conventional wisdom, but then you have the other, the fact where when you get into these melt-up modes, sometimes the market just does not care. And it will only care when it does, right? And that's the other side of it. Another thing, too, this is very good for bulls here. Take a look at, you see the corner of my screen right now, but take a look at the Russell. It's up 2% today. Big 1, 2, 3 surge for the IWM. This is your next big level right up here around 204 at 204, 205 area. May pull back a little bit tomorrow. We did have a 3-bar surge, so sometimes you get a pause after that. But either way, it's much better. We had a little wedge breakout. We can get rid of 197.50 for right now. We'll just leave this for a psychological level. That was basically the low of the day too. But that's a good sign. Another good sign, look at ARK up 2.5, and that's with Tesla down, right? So Tesla makes up a huge portion of ARK. So that means all the crap companies are green today. That's not bad. Another thing that's not bad is equal weight S&P is up 70 basis points, and that you can make a case that's on breakout. So weekly pattern inside bar, and it's inching higher. Again, you guys know I'd prefer the 20 MA a little bit closer to price, but I like how prices separate. The moving averages are separating here. 20 above the 50, 50 above the 100, 100 above the 200. That's a good sign. Now, with all that said, at some point, mega caps they're gonna dump out hard, especially the semis, especially NVIDIA. By the way, speaking of SMCI, working on a pretty fat tail with volume today, so that could be getting ready to pull back here. And when I say pull back, I mean these stocks, they're parabolic up. They're usually going to go down pretty sharply too. Again, we can talk about NVIDIA till we're blue in the face. By the way, Doji there on NVIDIA after a big run up with volume. Could be sign that's top heavy. Meta, we know about all these mega caps, right? If these stocks are down, right, NVIDIA's had days where it's up 4 or 5%. If it's down 4 or 5% in a day, I don't care what the Russell's doing. The market's going to go down. Like it's just, and especially if you see widespread selling, Apple down 1% today. If we see stocks like Microsoft down 1.25%, 2%, they're all down together like that. The market's gonna be down. It's just unless the IWM's up 7%. Now, why is that important distinction? Well, because it means that at some point we would then look, if you've got ARK, equal weight S&P and IWM, they don't have to be even green. They just have to be holding up, relatively speaking, to the market, the broad indices, as we're seeing selling in big tech, as we're seeing selling in semiconductors. If we see the transports showing relative strength into all these, into the selling, that's a sign that we need to look for weekly and or monthly higher lows when the correction is starting to run its course. So again, this is all hypothetical because we have no sell signal on the markets yet, but just something to keep in mind. Now, if this ends up being a fake out, we've talked about this before, right? The Russell, every time it looks like it's going to break out, everything it's going to catch up. It's finally going to catch up. It rolls back over. So again, we still need to see follow through. We still need to see this continue on a sustained basis, but that is something I would be looking for here if and when we do see a corrective move in mainly semiconductors, obviously, and then big tech. So today, little pullback here. Again, I wouldn't make too much out of this. It just looks like market makers getting way offsides on the, well, not market makers, but put sellers, 0DTE desks getting way offsides on the put selling side, and just really not being hedged for CPI. I mean, come on, dude, CPI tomorrow. What if it comes in hot? You don't want to get caught with your pants down. So we did see some hedging going on. Anyways, triple Qs here. Down 40 basis points. Again, kind of the rising wedge here as well. I actually like this one better even than the SPY, but we never quite got up to that blue line. It doesn't have to get up to the blue line, but hey, maybe we do it tomorrow. Again, I have this feeling like, again, if I had to speculate, I think they're going to get it down to 2.9 tomorrow, and that's going to be the euphoric move. Maybe that's what has to happen. Remember, we bottomed in October 2022 on a hot CPI print, and that ended up being the high, or not the high of inflation, but because we had peaked before that, but that was kind of cementing that inflation had peaked. Maybe it's the other way around. We'll top out on a cold print here and inflation bottoms. Okay, maybe that's what yields are telling us by being firm today. Only way we know is we get through tomorrow. But it is important to understand the technical position going into these events, because that gives you the probabilities as to how moves can continue and how the knee-jerk reaction could continue or get faded. But right now, Qs, we break this lower trend line with volume. It's likely a top is in. Spiders, again, SPX, we're slicing through that hourly. Could be something. We'll see. Need follow through. There is support at 49.05. That will get defended if we go down there. You have the 20 MA there, and then the big level is at 47.90, but we're way away from that right now. IWM, we talked about diamond here. That made a new all-time high today. Again, we said give the upside bias to 390, and it's basically there. SMH, again, kind of rising wedge-ish. I'd prefer it to be a little tighter. It will get tight up at 210. I don't know if it's going to get there. We talked about NVIDIA, SMCI. By the way, ARM just up another 30% today because that makes sense. With the SMH here, down 73 cents. Got those kind of divergent highs there. If we break this on volume, break the 20 MA on volume, most likely we have a high in place here. IGV outside move down. So maybe a little island there, maybe a little evening star setup on IGV. Again, not a lot of volume here. Not a lot of volume in SPY either. 37 million shares at 345. That's dead. So again, no volume confirmation, but price action, little top heavy. Didn't quite get to double top. I'd feel a lot better if this pierced double top first and then did that, but we'll see what we get here. IGV down. Transports green. Again, not by much, but they're green. So if we see rotation into sectors like this, that's a good sign. Weekly pattern is still really good on DJT. All right, interest rates. So let's look at the 2-year first, as always. Okay, so finishing right around 4.47. This inverse head and shoulders is still intact. So we'll see what we get tomorrow. If it fails, it doesn't mean that we have to go lower. It just means that we're no longer looking for that. But I still think, we go up there and retest this area at some point anyway. Fives, there you can see levels have not changed. 4.3, 4.42 area, 10-year, little sideways inside day. Again, 4.35 area is going to be your next big target. And then the 30-year, this is your big level to get through. If we get through that, there's a little bit of a pivot around 4.53, but then 4.6 is your next level. Also, if we sell off, we want to look for potentially higher lows on these. So just a few things to keep it on the radar for tomorrow, because CPI will move the market, obviously. XHB on breakout here, that is above 100. And yeah, that can still go higher. There's really nothing wrong with that. If that reverses and becomes a fake breakout, you get back below, 97.50 on a close, that would be a little bit of a red flag, but right now it's still acting well. VNQ up 16 cents, that's acting fine. XLF up 0.5%, that's still acting fine. They may still want to get to 40. KRE had that failure. I don't like that on the weekly, but it got a pretty good bid today, up 2.5. KBE up 2% on the day here. I would just expect potentially lower highs on the KRE based on that weekly. But again, we did go into a lot of support there. So again, I'm just in prove it mode for the bears, right? They haven't proven anything in a long time. So even though we have failures, kind of need to get follow through. All right, XHB trying to inch up here. Again, we hammered on the 50 a couple of times, higher lows. Still a little overbought on the weekly, even with the consolidation, but it's acting well. Oil here, a decent day. So up 22 cents. This is just, it's kind of baffling, this price action again. Big breakout, failed bear pattern, breakout, engulfing right back up the next week. If you get above this high, it's going, probably up to this blue trend line. But right now, kind of up 22 cents, 23 cents inside of yesterday's high though. But if this builds a base, it can go up there. So oil is acting better again. We'll see how it looks next week. But it's acting all right here. XLE recovering some of Friday's losses. That's still building a base here, and that could have a zigzag up. XOP trying to get back above this trend line here. And it looks like it will. You got the red bar and you got the 200 MA to contend with, but higher low there. And there's nothing really terrible with that. Then OIH here up $4.59. So nothing terrible. Would prefer to get it closing above that 20 MA. But I still like this level long term, as you guys know. CCJ continuing down here, 42 to 42.10, I think it is. What is it, 42.17? That's the big level on the weekly. URNM still acting well. That's down just a penny. Nothing terrible. Nat gas continuing to dump here. I guess, and even that's despite the nor'easter that's coming. I don't know what to make out of this. We're basically at COVID levels here. We are at COVID levels. I think we only have to go another 25 cents or so to make a new multi-decade low, which just seems insane to me. I'd be interested if this did puke down tomorrow, especially in the morning. It is getting very attractive. We're also seeing kind of got a decent RSI divergence there on the daily and on the 4-hour as well. We'll see how much lower they can take it. But when this thing bounces, it can bounce like 40, 50%. So we'll see how that works here. But definitely a little surprised to see it continuing as low as it is right here. But I'd be semi-interested tomorrow if we gap down. Dollar index here holding up okay, up a penny. If this stays firm here and goes sideways, it's going to build a base to go higher. Would not want to see it back below 103.50 though. Gold here, backing off a little bit with higher yields, higher dollar. Nothing terrible there. Again, my big question is, if yields break through 420 on the 10-year, what does gold do? Silver up 16 cents, but got hammered earlier. Take a look at the big bid outside and then got smoked intraday. So that came in pretty sharply. I'd be neutral on this right now. I'm still favoring a 21 test, or at least in that area. Platinum having a good day, up 2%. Palladium up 3%. So that looks like they're holding the lows here. Again, palladium with those divergent lows as well. Copper getting a bid. If we can close above this white line, that negates the head and shoulders. That doesn't mean it can't go lower. It just means that pattern's no longer valid. That's really all I've got on copper right now. And then Bitcoin getting up to 50K. And it pulled back a little bit intraday, but it's staying firm here. So it's still holding up. That's new 52-week highs. And yeah, you got to go back to, that's like 2-year highs basically. The next big level is right around 52. Yeah, right there. So we'll see if that gets tagged here. It probably does, honestly. When Bitcoin runs, it likes to run pretty hard. So I would just assume to give it the upside bias to 52, 250 or so. If it breaks back below this level here, that might be a minor red flag. But right now, again, like I've been saying for a while, there's no problems on the weekly. This is what happens when you consolidate for, you know, 7, 8 weeks, 7, 8, 9 weeks, and you let that 20 MA catch up. Look at the separation building in the moving averages. So that's a good sign there for Bitcoin. I don't really see any issues with it. All right, so again, CPI tomorrow. Let's take a look at this SPX. Yeah, so we should get pinned to 50.25 until the close. VIXY getting a bid. Again, you just easily be hedging. Let's not get too crazy with it. We do have that rising wedge break, but you'll need to see follow through for bears. And that might not even come until later in the week. Remember, it is OPEX week too. They're going to want to keep this market pinned. So it's going to take a big move to unpin volatility before then. So just something else to keep in mind there. Again, I still think mega cap tech semis are just wildly euphoric and dangerous right now, especially when there's probably insane amounts of leverage involved. By the way, ARM, I read earlier, accounts for, and I've got it up here. SoftBank owns 91% of ARM shares. We know what SoftBank has done historically. I've talked about that ad nauseum with Paramount. They're behind this type of stuff. And when you get that much leverage involved, it only takes a 10% down day in one of those names to trigger capital requirements. Just be aware of that. But as long as we see rotation to IWM, ARK, and RSP, I think ultimately structurally on the bigger timeframes, markets can be okay. But there still is, I think, a lot of risk in put selling and in that semiconductor sector. So anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on CarnivoreTrades.com. Talk to you guys all tomorrow.